If you really are curious, you try things you know are going to fail. If you really care, you admit when you fail because you care more about outcomes and people than you care about being right. And if you're authentic, you push through it.
Hey, it's Nikki, Llewellyn-Gregory, and you're on Gut Plus Science. You're in for a fast-paced, storytelling, action item-rich leadership growth experience. I hope you make this podcast a habit. I consider it a leadership mentoring tool. Learning together makes us better together, and that is how we change the world around us. Let's get to it.
Okay, so you know those people that when you see their name on your calendar, your face just lights up? You're like, oh, gosh, looking forward to that meeting today. The ones that the very first meeting you had just left such a amazing first impression. You know, that's rare. You know, we all meet a lot of people, but that one, it's like, I remember that first day. I remember these funky glasses that she was wearing and the energy that she had. Yes, I have one of those people with me today, Katie Donovan. She's a trailblazer. She is extremely passionate about business and creating a culture where people just want to be there. An incredible relationship builder, as someone that my entire past life has been in the networking, building relationships, finding a niche, going deep. You would never guess that Katie, who is so well known in the trades, has been really in this space for less than a decade. You know, between 5 and 10 years, but people would be like you were born in this. Like, everyone knows her. She has really gone deep to figure out how to add value and in the deepest ways with the knowledge that she and her team do at Camp Digital. And just everyone says the same thing. Like, she is just energy and she cares and just full of meaning. So I love that Katie is here with me today. Can't wait to introduce her to you. Today, we're going to break down this concept. I'm going to first spell it out. G.A.S. And you know what that word spells, but I felt like if I say it just first like that, it just kind of sounded funny. But we're going to frame it up as got gas. That's our theme today, got gas. And Katie is a marketer, a brilliant one. It's the core. It's at her heart. She's the founder of Camp Digital, the best digital marketing company for the trades. So, okay, this got gas, a must for building a great company with happy employees that feel meaning and customers that love to do business with you. Tell us, like, where did this come from and this whole three-legged stool concept that you shared with me before? Welcome, Katie. Well, first of all, that was the nicest intro I think I've ever gotten. You left out the whole Angelina Jolie's body double thing at my history. That's for later. It's for the outro. Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. And just, you don't have to tell them it was the before, not the after. But but honestly, that was like the nicest intro. Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel very much the same about you and all of our interactions. So thank you. Honestly, that was really sweet, Nikki. Gas. Gas is something that I feel very passionate about. There could be a lot of funny jokes there. Insert your own sarcastic joke that gas makes you feel passion. But for us, GAS stands for, feel free to blame me here, but give a shit. And it's something we've always started. Every company I've been at, I've been a leader at, that I've started, we all kind of really focus pretty heavily on this notion of GAS, because I can teach you how to do paid search. I can teach you how to do digital marketing. I can teach you customer relationship management, time management, all these things, but I cannot teach you to give a Scheisse. We'll use the German there. You either have it or you don't have it. I always joke around and say your mama either taught you that or your mama didn't, right? You either give it or you don't. So for us, GAS is really important. It's something we hire on. It's something we coach to. It's something we remind each other on daily. You know, every one of us runs out of gas from time to time. So it's nice just to have somebody to kind of poke you in the side and say, hey, you know, and sometimes you got to go back and recharge those batteries. But that's one of our core values as a company and something that we've take very, very close to heart. I love it. And who doesn't want that? You know, it's like, who's like, oh, I just want to live a life where I don't give a shit, right? We all want that, but it is rare that we come across people where we feel like it's there. You know, you're like, many times will walk into like a retail place or a restaurant or whatever nowadays. And I feel like I'm bugging people, right? Like, I'm like, I feel bad to ask for help right now, or I feel bad to get like a refill. It really kind of is like, it's just, there is a lack of giving a shit right now. And it's like, how do we lead this change so that is not the norm? And I know there's this like three-legged stool concept that goes with, you know, your business understanding. So let's start with you diving into that. And I'll just hit some on that, give a shit before we move forward on that. Sometimes that's all you can do.
So, we do digital marketing in the trades, and I can't make HVAC equipment break. I can't make water heaters back up or fail. I can't make your plumbing have issues. But sometimes all I can do is give a shit, call our customers, talk to our customers. To your point about a waitress at a restaurant, we've all been in restaurants where they're overworked, understaffed, behind, in the weeds. And sometimes all we can do is just say, I get it. Like I give a shit. And it's all you can do. I can't make it better for him, but just saying that you give a shit, sometimes that's all we can do. And I think there's so much value in that. But so I just wanted to throw that out there when you were saying it, because I love that notion. But for us, it extends beyond that to this notion of this three-legged stool. We talk about it as a company all the time. I think there's a lot of different really great business leaders in the world who've come at things from different perspectives. Virgin Air, I think they're famous for talking about the customer, employees first, right? Employees. Or we've all worked for businesses where it's like company over everything. It's not good for the company. We're not doing it. And then you have companies that say customer's always right. And we've taken a very different approach to it. And our approach is really that those are three legs of the same stool. And it's never one over the other. We try and constantly balance those things. You got to balance your employees' happiness and sense of belonging and sense of love and sense of fulfillment with customers' success and giving a shit, right, about the customers, along with the company's best interests. And I find that when you get too far to one of those three legs, you start to tilt. We know that we are doing that regularly because we fail at it every single day. That's how I know as a company that we're trying to balance those three legs, because we fail every day. There are days when we have employees who are just that was a hard day, hard meeting. I don't like that. Right, just whatever. We have days where we let our customers down. We have days where we took it in the shorts as a company, right? So it's really trying to make sure we're balancing those three pillars or those three legs of that same stool. And again, I think if you're not failing every day at it, then you're not probably trying hard enough.
Yeah. And let's talk about, the foundational things that have to be at play. Like I said a few minutes ago, I don't think anybody wakes up and they're like, I'm just setting out to not give a shit today. People want to contribute. All of the studies that we're looking at PeopleForward Network, the core is meaning. People want to feel meaning in what they're doing, and that could be how they're treated. That could be how they get to use their strengths. That could be meaningful conversations with the people they interact with, right? There's a lot there, but meaning is the core. And it's I give a shit when I feel that there's meaning. When it comes to the way that you see laying the foundation for any human to be able to give a shit, right? There's things that have to be at play at the foundational level. And as leaders, we're there to help with that. What do you see as the foundation?
I love that you're talking about meaning, because that's, oddly enough, my undergrad degree is social work, essentially, human services. And we learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And one of the core needs is love and belonging. And I don't think, I don't want to overstate the company component there, but we have to make people feel belonging, feel like they're giving meaning, feel like they matter. And I think that's a huge piece that we've lost in the last few years as a company. And so we lean into that very heavily. Another great place that I saw a resource like that was Simon Sinek. Everyone who's probably listening to this knows who that is. Love him and just about every darn word that comes out of his mouth. But I listened to a podcast he had done a while ago where he talked about the evolution of the workplace and how my age group, I'm not going to give you how old I am, but my age group, we had our relationships at churches. We had our softball leagues. We had our kids' school friends. We'd see at soccer tournaments. So we had this network outside of the office. And now, especially since COVID, the office has really changed. The office is their social life. The office is their game, where they go to interact for things. So for us, we really leaned into that. And we do things we have a team that does trivia, a trivia team. We have a softball team. We have a volleyball team. We have a golf group that meets. We have fantasy football league that we sponsor. Because we're trying to lean into that notion of serving and creating meaning beyond even just themselves. This is where they go because their friends are here and their social network is here and they have a sense of belonging here, beyond even just that. And what I've found, and Forward calls me a strange weirdo there, is it pays off in spades. If you feel like you love and belong, you feel like you have meaning, that gets passed on to the customer. They give a shit about the customer. They care more because it's part of that whole notion of community. I don't want to use the word family because I think we're a family here gets thrown around too much about work, and we're never going to replace a family. But actually here we are, because we have a lot of family that works here, but it's still different. And I think we just trying to create that and lean into that. Let's be more for them. I can't ask an employee to be loyal to me and to the company if we're not loyal to them. I can't ask the company to give a shit about the company if we don't give a shit about them. So yeah, we lean into that pretty heavily, in that meaning thing. I love I had not used that word, but you're spot on with that.
Yeah. And going, with this, give a shit. Like I'm just going to go out there and say, everybody wants that, or just assume that, and feeling love and being connected through love to what we're doing. Right. And then feeling in community, that belonging, it's the fuel that lays that foundation. And I think you gave some awesome examples of like the belonging part. I know one of the things that you do is is it Thursday lunches?
Every day.
Oh, it's every day?
Yep. We have breakfast and lunch every day. Mm-hmm.
Every day. Okay. I want you to highlight for a second your thinking on investing in that, and from, belonging, building community, helping people gather, all of those things, building relationships, but also like the investment angle of where some, leaders are listening. They're like, come on, how are you providing lunch every single day? And I remember what you provide. It's like some pretty fancy options, but just how you think about that from a business owner investment standpoint, aside from the belonging community building piece.
I have no good ideas that I came up with on my own. Every good idea I have was given to me by somebody else, or it's just straight up stolen. And I was sitting at an event at Google's headquarters in 2018, and they had the head of Pixar's, one of their executive team leaders, come and speak. And he talked about this notion of community in the workforce. And what they had gone out and done, and forgive me if he ever catches wind of this and I miss a detail or two here, but what they had done was like, you could only enter through certain doors in the building. You could exit through multiple doors, but you could only enter through certain doors, because he purposely tried to promote cross traffic. So he wanted somebody from their creative team to cross paths with someone from the production team, to cross paths with somebody from their accounting team. They purposely created that. How they created their food and how they created their meeting spaces were to create this purposeful placement of where employees who otherwise may not ever be able to commingle and meet were forced essentially to do so. Not forced like dragging you there, but just through your day-to-day movements. We embraced that, and we took it obviously with food as well. So we serve lunch every day. So we have breakfast, kind of help yourself. We have eggs, cereal, oatmeal, all those kind of things. That's to keep everybody fed. And then lunch, we serve family style. So you can come and go if you need to come and go, but we purposely line people up. So I was just in there today before this, grabbing a slice today. Thursdays is pizza day. But I ran in and grabbed a quick bite of pizza, and I did it. I passed Nate, who is working on our website migrations right now. He was standing right next to Allie, who does our creative. Allie was talking to Adi, who does our search, right? Those are three very different teams who were sitting in the same space. And then I got to sit in there and talk to them. Rory came in. Rory does search. Rory is amazing. They do amazing work. And I don't know how often my paths would cross with Rory if we weren't just sitting across from each other, or standing, because we were standing across from each other, each putting pizza in our faces, right? And just talking and saying hello and exchanging pleasantries. I mean, just those little interactions, that is part of it. The way we've financially justified it, and this may not be the same for everybody, but we take 20 minutes of our payroll. That is what we spend on our food. And the logic, and sometimes it ebbs and flows, but that's about what we spend. And the logic there is simply that if I keep half my employees for their whole hour, and they come and they eat and they work and they talk to each other and they cross-function, even though it's probably not traditional work that we think of it, they're not sitting at a computer, but they're cross-functioning, they're talking. If I can keep half my employees for the hour, for 20 minutes, I've actually financially done a benefit to the company. We work in a place that's on a corner of two major highways. You would probably take, by the time we're on the 6th floor, by the time you get down to the parking lot, get into your car, drive over to a place, you're going to be gone for an hour, even if you're getting fast food. And we retain, I would say, probably 90 to 95% of our employees eat lunch here every day, because we do really nice lunches and really fun, and we've made it part of the culture. And so it's always penciled for us. It's always made sense. Beyond that, we also make sure we let people know we did not suffer through the Great Resignation, because I think, part of it was you get fed here. Where are you going to go to get fed every day? People pencil that in. They like the experience. We never had a problem with back to work or back to office after the COVID. We really did not have much of an issue or very little pushback at all. I think because we've made it a place people want to come. And we, like I said, we retain probably 90 to 95% of our employees. We have a gym in the building, so they don't have to leave to go to the gym, which is great because in emergency, I have run down there before and be like, oh my gosh, someone come fix this for me. Poor people come running up sweating. But being able to keep all that stuff, it really does pencil. It makes a big difference, not only to the culture and to the employees and to employee retention, but it also pencils in just the day-to-day operations.
So I think, this huge theme here that we're talking about is the intentionality and really knowing what it is that you're trying to design for the experience. Like, know who you are and then work backwards, just like you shared with the Pixar leader, the incredible, like this one door. The reason why we're doing that is because we do want people to interact. It's like, how do we take time, block white space to re-engineer the how we do, why we do what we do, right? And I think it all goes back to like, who do we want to be? And then, what are the ways that we can live that out? I absolutely love that. You're really just in the lunch dynamic. Every day, people, whether they're there every day for lunch, they might leave for lunch one day or whatever, but they're there regularly and they know it's lunchtime. And you just mentioned like 3 or 4 names that you touched. You are modeling the way for high touch communication, which is, hey, we hear something about a customer and we're going to model the way and do a quick touch, a text, a quick audio message, a, email to them, this high touch communication that then ripple effects to the customer I was thinking of you. I ran across this article. Hey, I remembered this, right? And I don't think that's the norm. Like it's like, oh, we have our standing monthly meeting, talk to you then, versus like modeling this way of like, we're living it from the inside out. There's a lot there. Like, how does that show up more of like living from the inside out, what you're doing inside the walls, watching that ripple effect across the stools of the leg, if you will?
I love the way you framed it because it's intentional. It's very intentional. It's got to be intentional and it's got to start top down. So a couple of things on that. One, with intentionality, our front desk gentleman is named Ray. Ray knows every birthday, everybody's pet's name, everybody's significant other, their parents' anniversary. He does it. And when you come in, he greets everybody with a smile. He makes sure, hey, how you doing today, Alex? How's everything going? Great. How's it? Hey, Connor, it's great. I think it starts there. It starts with like how they come in the front. And I realize not everyone can do that, depending on the layout of your building, but we were really intentional on the layout of the building even that we picked. We looked at tons of spaces and we picked this space because it had that ability to funnel everybody through the main set of doors, and that Ray would be there or someone would be there to make sure we're greeting. So I think it starts there because that sets your mood for the entire day, as opposed to coming in, to a man trap or something, which again, depending on your setup, you might have to have that. But where there isn't even anything, like he puts up silly poster, like we bought him those giant stickies, those giant Post-its, and he'll put like Happy Friday, or whatever, Happy Cupcake Day, right? Just something to make people smile and think and get promoted, like promote their mentality. I love it. It's really, really quite fun. So we start with that. And then we coach to a lot of it too. We talk about it. I've also personally, because customer service is my passion, make sure I tell people all the time, if you have a half-hour meeting and the first 15 minutes of it are talking about their kid's wedding, that's not wasted time. Sometimes people need to talk about it. Sometimes they want to talk about it, but relationship building, it's really easy for us to all just become transactional in our relationships. And I don't think the relationships, you have to have some transactional relationships. That's the nature of the beast. But if you remember that most relationships, the most rewarding relationships and the relationships that last are not the transactional relationships, even vendor to client, you got to be able to call me and say, Katie, you screwed up. Kate, I'll tell you, not everyone likes to admit this. I had a client call me today and he goes, what is happening? I have been waiting for a response on this. You told me you were going to call me over the weekend. And my honest to God answer to him was, I am so sorry I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm going to make time right now. Let's get this fixed. And we did it. And I don't think he would have been able or felt comfortable doing that if we didn't have a relationship that we built where he felt like, I think it would have been just like, I'm getting a new vendor. What the hell is this Katie gal doing? She didn't call me over the weekend. So you have to have those relationships. And I think, plus it's just a better way to live your life. Like, I don't personally, we're only on this planet for one go around and we should enjoy it. And it's just a better way to live.
And, a meaningful deposit can literally take 30 seconds. It's like thinking about doing the thing for a meaningful deposit versus check the box. Like, oh, it just popped up in my CRM. I'm supposed to, touch Bob and Sally now, right? And it's like re-forwarding this email versus, hey, Bob, I just wanted to check in. I know last week we talked about, such and such. You had also mentioned your dog was sick. Just wanted to make sure everything's okay. Also forwarding you that article. It's like, how long did that take? It's back to the meaning, back to the intentionality. Okay, so I have this I cannot wait to tell David, my husband, who also knows Katie, about this later. I have this thing that I do. It's almost like I'm obsessed with English bulldogs. And anytime I see them, I can't help but like smile so big. They're like my favorite thing ever, have been since I was like 3. And I have one. So I was just thinking, I can't not smile and go chase down an English bulldog. It's just part of, I'm like a magnet. The other thing is the Ray, your front desk greeter. What is his title?
I think he's office manager. I think it's what his title
He
is.
needs to be director of first impressions.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm writing that down. I'm stealing that.
I love it. Okay, so, or something like that, right? Lasting impression, first impression, Mr. Impression.
I love that. I'm stealing that.
I love it too. So Ray, if I walked in, you could ask David, just like I do with bulldogs, for how you described Ray, I would walk away and I would say, David, he loves his job. Dude, that guy loves his job. I will do that anywhere I am. And it doesn't happen as much as what I wish it did, but it is a habit for me. I see people who are in their element and I'm like, I live for this. And then I'll start talking to them. Like, I love Delta. I fly Delta. Even if I have to have a layover, I fly Delta. I'm obsessed for so many different reasons. And I'll get in conversations with the flight attendants when I see that they love, and then I want to know, why do they love Delta? Because I'm a customer that loves Delta. And then when people tell me the story about it, like it's just like this habit for me. Here's my point is now I'm taking this away as like, wait a second. Yes, meaningful work is so important to me, and building, like, we spend the majority of our lives at work. Like, why would we not lead better workplaces? But how do we build more Rays, right? How do we help more? Because I'm going to guess if you go ask Ray, or you just overheard a conversation with somebody's like, so do you like your job? He probably lights up, right? And it's like, that's what it's really about. Because when they're at that place, that is G.A.S. Ray is our living example, Mr. Director of First Impressions. I love that so much.
And I had the same experience so I did a shop tour with Chet Peterman, HVAC Peterman Brothers. And I went, and I've done a lot of shop tours. I'm in the trades. I love going to shops. You see all different kinds. I love it. I love the trades. If you have kids, think about promoting trades. But here I am doing the shop tour. And I went to him afterwards and I said, I have to tell you one thing. I've done a lot of shop tours. Nobody had as many smiling employees as you did. And that was it. Like, even when we'd go through and it was the call center people and they're sitting there and they'd smile. And we would walk through the shop in the back and they'd smile. We walked through HR and they'd smile. Their IT team, their training team, they all smile. And not the like cheesy, like, oh, I gotta smile. It was a true, like, they were happy to see us, even though we were interrupting their day. To your point of how you build more of that, I think there are cultures that can do it. But I think part of it is we expect what we don't give. We expect people to be loyal and to give a shit and to care and to do all these things. And we don't necessarily think about how to return that. It has to be intentional. We have to think about, how can I show people I give a shit? To the point, to that balance, to that three-legged stool is where I come back to that three-legged stool. I want our employees to know I care about them, not more than I care about a customer, not more than I care about the company, but I care about them as much. And that is a real challenge to do every single day. And again, sometimes we screw up and we got to go back and say, listen, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I'm going to try better. And, sometimes they don't like the outcome, but it's truly, I think, being intentional about noticing what I want from them. It's the golden rule, right? It's, treat others how you want to be treated. But we don't do that from a company perspective to an employee, from a company's perspective to a customer. And then we get shocked when our employees don't treat us the way we think we should be treated, right? To me, it's just about being highly, highly intentional. Ray is at the front desk for a very intentional reason. He could charm the pants off a preacher. And people love it. And they comment all the time. And to your point, it is a great first impression. Now you're walking in going, wow, people love their jobs here.
I'm so fired up right now. I feel like I watched like a morning 3-minute Tony Robbins or something where I'm like, man, I'm having a rough start to the morning. And then I listen to that and I'm ready to like run through the wall. I don't know what's going on, but I have so much that I still want to talk about, and this time is ticking. So customer service, we talked about, you said, I'm really passionate about it. It's part of G.A.S. It's part of the Three-Legged Stool. Top tips. We talked about meaningful versus transaction for deposits, high touch. What are some of those other things?
I think it's care and curiosity. I think you have to be curious. You have to start with, tell me something about yourself. Tell me something about the business. No matter how long I've been in this business, I'm never going to know more than a GM that's running a shop. I'm never going to know more than a service manager who just got back from the field. Right? Just be curious, ask questions, and care about the customer. Right? Like I especially in the trades. So maybe this doesn't apply to everyone. Well, I think it does apply to everyone. But in the trades, a lot of times the businesses we work with are called Peterman HVAC because the Petermans run it and own it. And the Petermans' mortgages are tied to that business. And the Petermans' kids' educations are tied to that business. That is across the board, big shops, little shops, all those kind of things. So you have to care. Sometimes they get hot and they call you and they're mad, but that's because they're scared. They had a bad month, right? And we can't take it. So care and curiosity, I think, are two of the big things. And then finally, I don't think anyone's going to argue with this one, but I think it's authenticity. You have to be authentic with people. You have to let it be true to people. You can't pretend to be something you're not. You always get caught. So to me, I think good customer service comes down to those three things. I am a swearer. You probably picked that up already. For anyone's listening, it's probably been edited out at this point. But I try and stop, but most of the time I'll seek permission. I'll say, is it okay? And if they say no, I'll do my best to make sure that, I'm on my best behavior. Most of the time people say yes because they want you to be authentic and be who you are. So to me, I think those are kind of the top three things for customer service. I tell people all the time, care, curiosity, and authenticity go a long way.
I do remember that the first time that we met live, I'm pretty sure we threw so many F-bombs that we were both like, dang, like we feel real comfortable here. And then I sent you I think I sent you and your husband, or we were sharing it at the table, the little Giphy or whatever that said that the greatest word to clear your throat chakra is and I was like, this is medically, like help me. That's awesome. Well, she has a cup there that is full. For those of you that aren't watching the video, it is a full cup of, what are they? Like puzzle pieces or something?
It's a full cup of to give. So
yeah,
I actually have a to give.
They're actually words.
Yeah,
okay.
So
I was like, it is a full jar. So she's got gas over there to give.
If you're curious, I've got my to give. So.
Oh my goodness. I love it so much. We will be cutting this into amazing video clips. Okay. We talked customer service. I want to go back to failure for a minute. So let's embracing it. Let's go try something, share before you're ready, all that stuff. You are that way. Obviously, I've met your husband. He is that way. How do you help others embrace that journey at camp?
So I think people love to talk about failure, but I think they talk about it like it's a buzzword, right? To me, I think if you go back to those other three words, if you really are curious, you try things you know are going to fail. If you really care, you admit when you fail because you care more about outcomes and people than you care about being right. And if you're authentic, you push through it, right? So, gosh, we tried this and it didn't work. I think those three things speak more about failure and success than the word failure does. People are like, oh, let's be quick to fail, blah, blah, blah. I don't normally hang around the word fail because I think that is an outcome. I don't think it is the driver. I think you really say, I failed. And I think people follow people when they have those three things. If I'm curious, gosh, I'm really curious what it's going to be like to do a podcast with Nikki. Really love talking to her. We've had great dinners together. I enjoy her very, very much. She's very smart. But man, it's intimidating because Nikki's so smart and she's had so much experience and she talks to people all the time. I might fail, but I'm really curious and I care and I know you care, right? So I felt safe and felt comfortable doing it. And then I just had to be authentic. And if it fails, well, it fails on my authenticity. It doesn't fail for any other reason. So I think it's those kind of three things lead more towards failure than how I think a lot of business books and MBAs will teach you about failure, personally.
So good. And as you were talking, I was like, really the core when you're like, I don't know if it's really failure. I've always loved the concept of fail forward because it's like that different way of looking at it. But what I just got to is like, we're really here to reduce fear. Because it's like, if that's not at play, like it's not really failure. It's just, I'm going to try something. It's not exactly where I thought maybe it would be, but dang, what did I learn out of it? And I won't do that way again. So it's like reducing fear mixed with modeling the trying. And sometimes failure is like I literally lost my shit today in a meeting for some reason. You know why? Because I didn't do my morning routine. Like it was straight up, it was a failure, right? Like, but I admitted it. I said, I was aware and I said, I apologized, but I shared that with other people, right?
I challenge that thinking because I think that cliche, the only failure is the failure to learn, right? But I challenge your thinking because I don't think it was a failure. Yes, you had a failure. You lapsed in the traditional sense. But that employee who you might have gotten upset with heard you come back around and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I would bet you that employee would walk through hot coals for you now because they know that when you do make a mistake, you come back around. And I think that we get so hard on ourselves and so caught up in, I failed. We all lose our brains. Sometimes we all get upset. I'm Irish. It gets bad when it happens. But the ability to come back around and say, I am sorry, I screwed up. Please forgive me. Now, whether they forgive you is up to them. But to me, that speaks more volumes than I had an old boss who I won't say what company he is with because his family owned it. It was a hotel chain. Actually, that probably limits it already. And he used to tell me that sometimes they would purposely have the lights off in a big conference room when a conference was coming in. So that people would come in and have the lights off. And then I'm so sorry about that. Here, let me get the lights should have been on. Let me go ahead and get you a free thing of coffee for the event to compensate for that. So they almost purposely created this notion of failure so they can show correction and show how they were willing to fix it. It was genius. And it cost them nothing. I mean, the coffee cost literally, cents. But all of a sudden the customer goes, oh my God, this is going to be a great conference because they forgot to turn the lights on and they're giving me free coffee. Like this, they're going to fix any issues I have coming up. Yeah. So, to me, I think we get stuck on failure, but again, the old cliche, failure, the only failure is the failure to learn. I'm a big fan of that.
This lifelong journey that we have as humans to continue to work against the grain of maybe how we were raised or continue to advance ourselves. It's like the day that we stop pouring into the learning, you just drift backwards. You never arrive. But I will share that I've always struggled with the failure thing, but I have for years now done the fail forward, right? It is as long as we're learning and we, admit our mistakes and share what we've learned or whatever. But my default is always, well, for those of you that know Bobby Knight, the basketball coach, so Bobby Knight was who my dad aspired to be with me growing up. He put me in sports when I was 3 and he practiced every Bobby Knight move until I stopped sports right before college. And then my mom, she would always say, I knew I should have chosen my other path in life, which was to be a nun and had straight A's growing up. So I joke all the time. It's like my parents are still married. We have a solid relationship and all that. But I was like, dude, I did start off as a social worker for a reason because I was healing myself, right? And learning all of these things. And they were not for their best intention. But I'm like, I had to work against that.
Did he practice the Bobby Knight chair throwing move?
I feel like the nun always came out and grabbed the chair before it was really.
Got it.
So got it. There was that there. But anyway, that's so good. And just the reframe of the way we talk about failure. I think that's a really good key takeaway there. Let's move on to attitude. So you are legit, always pretty darn, you got a solid attitude. There are times when gas runs out from that way of looking at gas, right? And what is that? How do you lead people to be the race of the world?
That's an interesting one because I think about it all the time because I have 2 kids. I have a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I always tell them there's only 3 things in life that matter. Try your best, be kind, and have fun. And what I'm really hoping they take away from that is the attitude component. I talk to my husband, we talk about it all the time, how do we make sure we teach our kids? Because I think the attitude you have dictates the life you have. And so it's really, I think modeling is a big part of it. We model a lot for our kids. I will say to my kids all the time, I'm grateful for you. I really appreciate you. I'm very proud of you. Every time I travel a lot and every time I travel, even though my kids are 15 and 14, they probably think this is awful at this point, but I always write them a little note, every time I leave, just letting them know how long I'm going to be gone, what they're going to be doing while I'm gone, and, little kind of affirmation. But I want them to, more than anything, see us modeling the positivity and doing that. I think it's the same at work. I think you have to model it. We have, I was looking for it when you're talking about failure. We have these little penguins. I stole this from Google, by the way, as well. Again, I steal all my good ideas, but one of the groups I work with had the, oh my God, the courageous penguin, they called it. This is a great story. I know we're running late, but I'm going to tell it anyway. It was the first penguin on an iceberg that has to jump off. It's the courageous penguin. And when they jump, if there's like a whale or whatever in the water, guess what happens to that courageous penguin? He gets eaten. And then the other penguins go, oh, we're not going to jump yet. There's something in the water. But it takes a courageous penguin. And if the penguin pops back up, then the rest of the penguins can jump in the water too. So we used to have this thing. We haven't done it in a while. I'm going to bring it back. Now we're talking about it. But it used to be called the courageous penguin when we were smaller. And anytime somebody failed miserably, but they failed in the best interest of trying to progress something, we gave them a courageous penguin. And it was the notion of trying to say, like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to be wrong. It's that whole reframing of the mindset to say, like, if you're failing for the right reasons, not like you didn't come in until 10 o'clock and you didn't call anyone. That's just a failure. Like, what the heck? What's wrong with you? But if it's like we had a guy who was like, I was trying to get these ads to work and I was working over the weekend and I forgot to set the time to turn off at 10. So now I got to write the customer $800 credit because we spent $800 between 10 and 6 a.m. You tried. You were working on the weekend. You missed something. Courageous penguin. So I think to your point, it's really about your mindset, modeling, hiring the right people, because there are just going to be some folks that just, unfortunately, just aren't going to get out of their own ways. But to me, it's really about modeling that, making sure that you're doing it, and then intention again, building that culture that says, it's okay. As long as you're not the guy saying, well, it wasn't me. It was, you guys made me work on set. Well, no one, but really just pushing into that whole notion and then letting people be okay within reason to fail at things.
From my seat, what I have experienced being around you, what I've heard your team members say, and then your peers that got us connected, you really do walk this walk. It's awesome. And I know you put a lot of work in to do that. Camp Digital seems like a very, very special place. And I'm grateful to have you on to be able to share this. I wish we had another hour to go deeper because I think there's so much more. So we'll have to do something else again in the future. But I want to move over to our lightning round. And I forgot to ask as we go into this lightning round, you are Katie, right?
As opposed to
Not Meg.
not Meg. That's right. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I know that sometimes you guys do this little trickster thing where like you don't even know if it's Katie or Meg. Can you tell people what I'm talking about?
So in case Katie has to go to the bathroom, Meg's my body double. No, I am an identical twin. We're mirror twins, which means we were born, like I'm right-handed, she's left-handed, but we're genetically identically the same. We look identical. If you wouldn't notice which hand someone's carrying a pen in, you probably wouldn't know which one's which. And we have at times used that to our advantage. So I'm going to probably get my undergrad taken away here, but I would not have graduated statistics if it wasn't for my parents flying my sister in from her Ivy League school to my party school to take my stats test. So we are definitely identical sisters for sure.
I love that so much. Earlier, as I learned this, I was like, so on picture day, because you both work at the same company, like does one do hair up, hair down? Do you have to do different versions of camp shirts? Like, how do you do that?
We worked together at a previous company, Nikki, and they put in biolog, like to get it out. So instead of like keys, you used your hand. And I would purposely log her in and out throughout the day because our fingerprints were even the same. So I would log her in and out throughout the entire.
Up. That is bananas.
They were the same enough, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of which, family business is like super key to your life, like in deep ways. Tell a little bit more about that.
Well, let's see. My husband has his own company, but he does some of our Facebook marketing for our company. My twin sister works here. My father works here. I've worked with my brother at a previous company. My brother's worked with my sister at a previous company. My brother's worked with my father at a previous company. And then we've embraced it here too. We have lots of family folks that work here. So we're not anti-nepotism like a lot of other companies. We kind of embrace it. We have a husband and wife that work here. We have roommates that work here. We have a girlfriend, boyfriend that work here. It's quite an interesting mix.
I love that so much. And just going back to like love, belonging, relationship building, connection, it's like, I mean, why not bring in people that are close to us that have the talents and skills and, grow in that way? Like it illustrates the community building that we've talked about. So stay tuned for another episode with Katie and I coming soon because we need to hear about world travel, skyscrapers, as you have visited most of those in the world, but we are out of time. So I would recommend that you hit up Camp Digital for anything that you want to learn, particularly if you're in the trades, you have friends in the trades. They are specialists there. Google, SEO. I mean, they are the latest and greatest. Like, I'm actually not kidding when I say that. Go look them up. Like, they are